You probably saw the title of this video and was like, what? 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 Yeah, no, that's a correct response to the actual title of this video. And I'm going to talk about this because I like talking about shipping stuff, shipping communities in general, and well, as someone who loves shipping in Final Fantasy VII, this crack ship has gotten a lot of steam over the last, I want to say, couple of months. And I'm going to explain to you exactly how this ship ever came about, at least from where I could pinpoint the origins of it, and then tell you more about why people believe in it, and also why and how something like this kind of crack ship could actually become so, like, more prevalent inside a community than it needs to be. And it's frankly, it's not as a complicated story as you think it is, but I'm gonna go ahead and try to explain it to you because frankly, it's a very weird one. But if you probably already saw from the title of the video, it's about the ship known as Zack and Elmyra. And you're probably, like I said, thinking, how the hell does a ship like this even come about? Well, it comes about many different ways, but allow me to first tell you the origin of this ship. Now, I'm not going to name the users or like the Twitter accounts that it's kind of started the Zack and Elmyra thing, and it's mostly because I don't like doing that on my videos anyway. I don't like showcasing people who started certain things that may lead to them being, reached, and it said some things about them. But essentially, Zack and Elmyra Ship started because a user on X.com, or formerly known as Twitter, where they were discussing with a shipper about something. I don't remember what it was, but it was essentially something about how like they were disagreeing with a certain analysis or certain take that they had in regards to shipping. And it got point to the argument where like there was nothing, no one was succeeding, or like you finding a middle ground in this discussion, to the point where like the shipper accused the person of having a ship and denying that they are a shipper, because the user was not a shipper. The user was more of a theory and analysis person, and that essentially frustrated the user to the point where they literally just did a troll of a response by saying, yeah, you're right, I am a shipper. I ship Zack and Elmyra. Hell yeah, baby, let's go. Woo! And that's really how, from at least where I have pinpointed it, where the Zack and Elmyra ship started. It started from something as simple as that, as a joke, as a troll in a response to a shipper. And unfortunately, it began to gain steam. It didn't essentially start to really gain steam until like maybe several weeks later. But just the idea, even in the form of a joke, can set a fire in shippers to the point where they actually start taking that crack ship idea actually seriously. And that's just how it starts. Once you get someone, just one individual, to legitimately think that it is possible, it slowly starts expanding. They slowly start to get more followers, more people to believe in it. And in response to that, you're going to get more people who are more vocal about it as well. The more people who are vocal about it, usually that's how it starts spreading to other people, right? The idea and the belief of the ship starts to spread to other people. Just having a few loud individuals constantly keep talking about it, that's how you gain more followers. That's usually how it works, right? So, the individuals who started actually taking it seriously began to post more and more about it. And it eventually, it is later discovered that the people who did start to support Zack and Elmyra come from the idea that by shipping them, they could devalue another ship and especially another character. For example, by believing in Zack and Elmyra, it allows them to try to discredit the idea of Zack and Aerith as a ship, as well as just essentially shedding on Zack's character for falling in love with or like shipping them with Eric's mom. It's like a weird way to try to attack both Zack and the Zack and Eric ship, because maybe they ship Cloud and Eric or something like that, right? They use it as a way to just hate on both of these things, and are essentially, they're not embarrassed about it. You know, they don't care, because at the end of the day, they want to somehow devalue not only Zack's character, but also but also essentially deny Zack and Eric as a ship. And they're doing Zack dirty this way. It's very similar how Zack and Tifa became a thing, where like they try to devalue Cloud and Tifa by having Zack and Tifa be the ship that Tifa should be with, because Zack is actually the hero that Tifa always wanted, you know, because there's a mischaracterization of exactly who Tifa what Tifa's message to Cloud during their water tower promise that they did when they were kids. But let's not talk about that. We'll talk about Zack and Elmyra, and that's essentially how like that really gains more steam for this ship, for this crack ship, to become something that people actually just become more vocal about. It all starts off as a joke. Loud people who would just have loud voices start spreading it like wildfire, and then essentially you find out the truth, because the people who do start following it are usually the people who try to use it as a way to shit on another character or another ship. That's just how it works. Anything to deny a ship that they are against or do not like, they will take it, even if it makes no sense and it's just weird. Because you're talking about Zack and Elmyra. Elmyra is Eric's mom. Zack dated Eric, so all of a sudden he will start dating Elmyra? That is weird. Even the age gap is weird, right? And you're probably wondering, well, like, how does that make any sense though? Like, where's the evidence? Where's the proof? What are they getting at? One, a lot of the evidence is Photoshop and just making memes. The other piece of evidence that they try to use to persuade people to believing it is how Zack and Elmyra bonded during Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, with the way they spoke to each other. It was vastly different to how like Cloud and Elmyra spoke to each other. And they use that as a way to essentially try to push this narrative. Because I don't know. I can't explain that part. It's just something I've seen. I don't understand it. But that's the point. There's no logical basis of this ship. That's what makes it a crack ship. That's what crack ships usually are. There's no logical basis for these ships, but people ship them because, I don't know, they look good together, they have the same hair color. It's just some really non-logical reason for a ship, but that doesn't mean you can't ship it. Crack ships are always fun. I always tell people, whoever likes shipping, you can have a crack ship. Right? You could have a ship and pair two characters together that literally could not even communicate once, but you like how they look aesthetically or something. And that's perfectly fine. You're more than welcome to have that. It's when you cross that line of it knowing to be a crack ship and then thinking it's like a legitimate ship that people will actually look at it and be like, yeah, this makes sense. That's the difference. That's why certain crack ships become a lot more popular or a lot more vocal, because people really start believing in them. And these headcanons that people have, they try very hard to somehow portray it as a positive and try to persuade it as like some sort of relevancy to the canon, and find like really out of context moments, or like a really misguided view of the characters' actual relationships, and try to pull something out of nothing from that. And that's how crack ships essentially become or start to gain more steam in any community. Again, crack ships are fine. Everyone has crack ships. It's that line that you should never cross, right? Zack and Elmyra are not a ship that anyone should take seriously, right? But, you know, that's just, like everything I explained, that's just how it happens. To the point where like someone even made a Zack and Elmyra actual Twitter, x.com page, right? And then, at some point, during these crack ships, during this rise in popularity, I guess you could say, for this crack ship, they will then start to argue with actual shippers who have legitimate ships that, based on the writing, have a chance. And when they try very hard to literally fight against them, they are looked at as crazy. You know, they're looked at insane, because that's when you know that, oh my god, they are actually taking this ship, this joke of a ship, this troll of a ship, this crack ship that should not be any shape or form actual logically, like, you know, ever will become a reality, into something that isn't there and that they truly believe it. And when you start to argue with actual shippers of actual ships, that's when it gets more insane. That's when, like, people start noticing, like, oh, this is a thing now. And that's usually how some people not some people, but some shippers try to promote their crack ship, essentially by arguing with actual shippers and trying to, like, win arguments with them. They think that it will gain more traction with other people who might actually start believing it as well, and that's how you grow that. That's how you grow that fandom of that crack ship. It's really a common thing that happens a lot in communities, especially big communities, because that's the whole point. You're trying to get people on your side. That's what shipping wars essentially do. The more people you have on your side, the more you feel like you are legitimate, that you have a much more legitimate chance to actually be taken seriously, and, you know, get more people to believe that this ship can happen, when reality is it cannot, because logically, based on the writing, it makes no sense whatsoever. But that's how a crack ship can rise into it being more vocally, into people actually starting to believe it way more than they should, and see people start to actually believe in it. And it can be frightening, and it can be really crazy, but at the end of the day, it's not supposed to be taken seriously. And like I said, a lot of the people who do support Zack and Elmyra tend to be people who either hate a character or want a ship to be canon, and they use something like this to discredit another ship in some sort of way. And they do it through that and hating on the character. That's how something like this can occur, and how a crack ship like that can become more stronger than it needs to be. Like, don't get me wrong, I still think a lot of people in the Final Fantasy VII community know it's a joke, that it's a troll. Like, they legit don't believe it will ever become a thing, right? Compared to other ships like Claudia, Clara, Zara, whatever, right? But that's just how it starts, and that's why Zack and Elmyra, you know, if you've been on X or Twitter or maybe somewhere else, because I've only noticed it on X and Twitter, it could be somewhere else, that a ship like this can gain traction so quickly. Because this thing with Zack and Elmyra literally happened like a couple months ago, but it moved quickly, and people have been trying to stomp it out, but it's going to be very hard at this point. But that's how it starts. I mean, just as an exercise, just look at your fandom and see, like, what ship was essentially a crack ship, and then all of a sudden you start seeing it more often. Just think about that and think, oh, maybe this is how it started as well. Just as something for you to think about. But again, I fully support people having crack ships. I think everyone should. It's all about having fun with it, because at the end of the day, that's what crack ships are. They're fun and not supposed to be taken seriously. But do not step over that line and actually try to fight or try to make it canon in some sort of way, because it never works out. It really doesn't. And it just, eventually, when it doesn't come true, it can make you look foolish. But we will see. Everyone is responsible for, you know, how they view a ship, and, you know, the ship that they support, and they are responsible for how, like, the response they will get from others, because you should know whether or not a ship like this will get negative feedback. If you do not think so, then that's you're living in an echo chamber, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Just understand, like, again, crack ships are just for fun. Do not take them as serious or try to make them serious, because you are not going to do you're not going to have a lot of favors from a lot of people, except for those who just want to use it to troll and meme and just make fun of other shippers for it. And in the end, other shippers do tend to, get hit with the strays from it. But yeah, So yeah, that's the story of Zack and Elmyra, and probably why you probably have seen it roaming around online. But yeah, so take care, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time.